Again, 15.
So that's like 18.
Good afternoon. This is the Harbor Shellfish Advisory Board, October 21st, 2025. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 5:02 PM. If we can have an approval of tonight's agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's made by Mr. Anderson, seconded by Ms. Mayor to approve tonight's agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson.
Aye.
Mr. Mayo, or Miss Mayo, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Mr. Brace. Mr. Ronzuto, you with us?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Approval of minutes. Everybody get the draft minutes for October 7th? Any revisions or a motion to approve?
The only thing that I would add is we wanted to continue the discussion on the app.
Yes.
It's not in the old business, so that's it. We can bring it up under new business.
So you took up. I thought you took it off the agenda, is what you said. I listened to it again, but I
So
thought,
with
Doesn't
staff,
matter, I'll
with
bring it up
staff
under new
here, we
business.
can
Right,
bring
just-
it up at the end of the meeting.
okay,
We can cover it in our.
Or in the report, that would be great, thank you, Jeff. So, approval of minutes, October 7th, 2025,
So moved.
in a second.
Second.
Motion is made to approve the October 7th, 2025 minutes by Mr. DeCosta, seconded by Ms. Mayo. Any discussion? All in favor, Mr. Brace?
all right,
Mr. DeCosta?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Same.
Okay, Ms. Mayo?
Aye.
Mr. Franzuto?
aye,
Chair votes aye. Marine Department report, you have anything?
she's not here.
Natural Resources report,
You go first.
I don't have a lot. Good evening. So we opened Sacagawea Pond this morning. Tomorrow we're scheduled to open Hummock Pond. And, this past weekend, we attended the Harbor Health Symposium put on by the Great Harbor Yacht Club Foundation. It was 3 days. They bring in academic advisors, specialists with eelgrass, water quality, shellfish. And it was focused on developing a harbor health scorecard and different criteria that you can use to score your environmental parameters that you're measuring as a town or organization. We're busy. We have a grant cycle going on right now that ends November 15th. So we're writing grants, and then and some new news, our water quality specialist position will be available starting next week. And Jeff has maybe a few other things.
Real quick, since Bob mentioned it. We were in the process of putting together that app with the focus especially on weather data. We do have the weather station. We're waiting to get it installed. We're still gonna try to have that down at the hatchery before the first. And up and available on as many spots as we can get it. We'll definitely get it up onto like Weather Underground for people. All of like print, like hatchery for everyone. We did get a little delayed in dealing with our IT folks for developing an app to like log catches and do things, so that's gone a little slower, so we're definitely behind on that. Hopefully, we'll get that kind of in and up through the winter. And knock that out once everyone's schedule's down, but our kind of main priority from that is to get the weather station up and running for everyone to see and know where they can find the temperature that's down on the harbor, so everyone knows where it's being used, and it's a weather station that's within control of the town. We're not depending upon a private weather station or someone private, and it's not in the middle of the island or somewhere that's down on the harbor, so we're still on schedule for that, and again, we'll happily send that information out to everybody once we have the official station name put together. We'll get that going. Also in our report, I did want to also mention this briefly for everyone, and maybe this is a little bit of a agenda item request in the future. I brought some handouts because we are talking today a little bit about, I'm gonna take one and pass it around. We're about to onboard a new and updated harbor plan. We just, on September tenth, approved the eelgrass management plan. We've been talking about doing an update of the actual shellfish management plan. And all these plans coming, the state's getting ready to do an update of the oceans management plan as well. That we thought it might be a good time to also kind of revisit some of the goals and objectives for SHAMS, and then there's also a second document that's on your guys' webpage, that's just a kind of a policies and procedures for SHAM, related primarily to. I think we're gonna have a lot of need for input from you guys on some of these items as we go to prioritize or implement stuff from those plans. It would be nice to be able to get information to people and have those discussions here. Don't want to necessarily create more work for everybody. But I did want to make sure, like, some of these things still reference, like Peter's personal phone number and address to drop stuff off and deliver it to. To help facilitate the discussions around those planning items. To kind of refresh these and make sure that we're all on board with that, and then that way when these items come up. Or we're bringing things like the eelgrass management plan forward. We can make sure we get everything distributed and put up and available for everyone. To try to make that as quick as possible. No, there was a lot to take in. But we were trying to think of the best way to try to implement that today, because we realized we've suddenly got a lot of projects and plans that are in the pipeline now from all of these things that have just finished. So, trying to get us there. I'd anticipate with the harbor plan that with the implementation committee, there'll probably be a request to have a member from SHAP on that, maybe one or two. I don't know. We'll have to see how the select board wants to set it up, one for sure. But in trying to keep everything flowing easily and try to keep stuff focused.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Franzuto.
Yeah, Jeff, can you email me what you just handed out?
Yeah, absolutely. I was gonna
Appreciate
send it all quickly after this discussion, so.
I
Or
appreciate
you
it.
can find it all on SHAP's webpage, Dave. There's just a link to the one extra document at the bottom of it. But
Okay,
I'll email you the link in the attachment.
all right, no, it's what you just handed out?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think there's anything else that's been added. That's it for us.
Anything on the dredging plan, Jeff?
Oh, so dredging plan is still underway with the prioritization is kind of gone in and through. We are taking some of the designs up from kind of like areas to more of what the actual dredge footprint and dredge prism will look like. I know the first two areas that were identified after all of those. Couple public information sessions and some other discussions, obviously the entrance to Pulpus Harbor. Came up as one, and then some feeling for the second one that is spacing out on. The other one was out in Mattock, so Hither Creek. And into Mattock Harbor were the first two. And then the secondary group behind that would be like Easy Street Basin. The channel that kind of goes from the town here towards Great Harbor Yacht Club. And then kind of the area in and around Pockama Point. We did have a pre-meeting with all of the relevant state agencies for what they were expecting to try to get a 10-year permit put together. One of the things they've asked for is a little bit more clarity on where any dredge material is gonna go, whether it's on beaches in the area or if the town's gonna kind of stockpile it and create like a little sandbank to be reused or something later. They did ask that if sand is going to be reused, that the priority is onto public areas and public beaches. We're trying to sync up with some resiliency concerns related to erosion or coastal protection for where that may be. But that's the part that we're also trying to speed up a little bit, but we're trying to get into permitting this winter for all of those, for that 10-year plan.
Great, wow, thank you, Jeff. Mr. DeCosta.
Just a quick question on the weather station.
Yes.
we obviously have plenty of time here because it doesn't get cold until December, but once this is up and running and we'll be able to monitor it through Weather Underground, will this replace the flag? Or will
No.
we still have to deal with the flag?
We will still have the flag up just because not everybody has reliable internet access to get to that all the time. We still will. I've said that before too. I get,
I
told
just-
we
No,
still,
I mean, we have one Shellfish constable,
yes,
and if he lowers the flag in town, and it takes him 15 minutes to drive to Mattocket. That's 15 minutes that the guys in Mattocket could be fishing,
Yeah.
provided that, you know, we may have a split fleet this year. Last year it didn't matter, we had 2 boats in Mattocket, but.
Yeah.
It just seems to me it's 2026 almost, and we still can't figure out how to look on a phone and say, okay, the temperature's 28, I can go now, you know?
yeah, I wonder if, so through the town website, just to stopgap until the app's there. The town website does allow for like push notifications and things to go out. If we link the weather station to that, we may be able to take people that want to be on that and push out when that is in kind of the interim, but I can answer that for you in the next.
I mean, we have time, Jeff. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not like, but I just think, you know, down the road, it would be nice if we could get that in. And again, the other thing that I would really like to be able to do. Convenience for me and for most of the fishermen who know how to use the internet, and also for your department, is to be able to report my boxes on at least a daily or a weekly basis, so that I don't have to wait till the end of the year to fill out a paper form and drop it off at your office, and that way we get real time,
Jeff. Can you see that? I don't know what's happening here. Somebody's broadcasting. Keeps going back and forth to somebody's phone. My phone, sorry.
That's all right. You know, I'd love to be able to just report. Even if it's once a week, just, I caught 25 boxes this week, or I only caught 15 or whatever, just, it would give everyone just real-time data. And,
Can answer that for you probably.
Dan, or everybody, and let the board speak, and I'll get to you all.
I mean, we all do it through Saphis now. You can opt out and still do paper, but I think 99% of the people in the state do it online, and
Yeah.
you know, I do my catch reports for the state every Saturday morning. It would be nice if I could do it with the town at the same time.
Yeah, I have some ideas for some internal, if we don't get an app too, so that we could probably do relatively easily.
Jeff, as far as the red flag goes, I've had some suggestions brought forward to me by fishermen, hoping that they could be on, like a group text message from the constable, to make them aware, sooner. I'm not sure if this is a possibility.
Yeah, so I think the quick answer for that, and I'll get it and I'll happily send it to you to distribute, is I think when the weather station's up and running, if we put it to the town website, the town does have the ability where you can essentially like subscribe to very specific updates. We could probably get everyone instructions, so if the flag was gonna come down, we would just push out that update.
Kind of like the Highline camp.
Kind of like the Highline cancellation, so you would get it to your phone when that happened.
Any other, comments, questions from the board?
Quick comment on the flag. I mean, JC in the past been pretty good, and our other boards have been good about letting us know for Mattocket, the temperature made it, you can go ahead and take the flag down.
Right.
I don't think it's that big a deal, like most people have this number. And
Yeah,
I agree that if you're not down, just because we know, then yes, the issue, but usually if everyone's waiting, they're asking them.
if we could do a push notification, that would suffice, because there'd always be somebody out there who would have it. Who would be getting and could tell everybody else, hey, I just got the notification.
I think that's a solvable problem.
Yeah.
Anything else from the board? Mr. Franzuto? All right, from the public, unless there's anything more in your report, Jeff or Tara? Mr. Pronk had his hand up first.
I was just gonna, what you said, Andy, about the phone text messaging, I mean, it wouldn't, I don't think it would be too hard to. And like Jimmy said, JC has texted me in the past, flags down, you can go. But I think if it was a if you wanna subscribe to it, like. It would be easy, you know,
Yeah.
send your name in a JP and send a morning text out, flag is down. Like Bobby said, I'm on my way to Madigan to drop it, but this is the official notice. Flags down. I don't think it would be too hard. Like I said, Jimmy said, he's been really good about it with some people. You know, he's texted me, hey, you're good to go.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. On the catch reporting, Bobby. I have to do my catch reporting every day. It's an app that you get on your phone. There's several different apps. For your Shellfish card that everybody has to have now. I don't think they told, I was probably the last dinosaur doing paper reporting. And they've actually, I'm doing the app now too. I'm sure Jimmy, you do the same thing, don't you? Your daily reporting?
Yeah, the walkthrough one, yes.
Yeah, but even with the Conkin, I have to do it, the daily reporting through the state. When my boat leaves the dock and so does Jimmy's, when we leave the dock, because of our permits, it's an app that I think. Because everybody has a Shellfish card, I think nowadays. I don't think there is any more paper reporting. Like I said, I was the last one and they were, no, you gotta do it this way, Dan. I just started it about 2 months ago, and if I can figure the app out. Anybody can, but to reach Bobby's question, I think everybody's gonna have to do this daily reporting. I don't think it's weekly anymore. I mean, I have to do it every day.
Scholopers don't, bay
Yeah.
scholopers don't, but the
That's
state,
it's coming.
I thought I got an email a while back saying that they were getting rid of the paper reporting and only going to online reporting, but
Yeah,
know
it's
they're
all,
trying
it's
to.
all online now. It literally takes 45 seconds.
once you set up all your favorites, it's just a matter of clicking.
I think it's because you're federally permitted as I am, Dan, that's why we have to do it.
Yeah.
Open a trip.
But I still have to do it for my Conkin. I do it every day we go Conkin, but I would imagine, cause they told me this year that it's no more paper, everything's gotta be done online, which. I think, like I said. I would
I
imagine,
just think, I mean, unfortunately, and I've been through this with DMF and Noah and Jimmy and Carl, Dan can attest to this. Nobody talks to anybody. So we do SAFIS reports. And that goes to the feds and then the state gets some of it, but then they don't get all of it. And then they call you and they say, well, you need to do this one as well. The town doesn't have access to SAFIS. Otherwise, you could just get all of the boats that fish in Nantucket Harbor and you get all the data. And it would also, when we do a SAFIS report, you have to tell which part of the harbor you fished in, whether it was, Harbor West, Harbor East, Madigan, all these different things. They want to know when you left, when you got in, how many dredges you used, blah, blah, blah. It's in depth, but you set up your favorites and then it's just a matter of a few keystrokes. I just think a simple, like, I fished on Monday, I got 5 boxes. Here's my permit number,
Yeah.
It's the same thing you give us at the end of the year when we go down the list and we mark out 5, 5, 5, 5, 4, 5, 5, 5, 3. And we total it out, but if this would be instant, so you would know at the end of November, hey, we caught X amount of bushels.
I may re-ask the DMF the question, especially now if they've moved everyone to digital.
yeah, I would imagine.
If they
that
could
tell you.
share that with us, just as far as catch numbers go.
See, when we report our catches with them, we report it in weight. Not in meat weight, not in bushels, so. That's the difference.
Carol,
And I also just want to say, when I try to get numbers from the DMF, they also record it by year, not by fishing season, so we get.
You gotta
You have to kind of try to tease everything out, and that makes it a little difficult as well.
okay, Mr. Logan, forgive me if you had your hand up before, Mr. Pronk, but,
Not at all, thank
all right.
you, Chairman, for recognizing me, and I appreciate the fact that you're all here, Jeff especially, I haven't seen you for a while, I like it. Tara, always a pleasure. Just one request that I would have that we could probably resolve is the flag issue. And it's a bane for me because I don't always get to drive through town to see. I know we're talking about the weather station location, which we've all discovered that, okay, this is the one station we're relying on. But it also depends on when somebody goes to check on that weather station. So are we relying on the one constable making that determination? And if so, why wouldn't it be possible to have a broadcast text message for those that sign up for it there to be provided so that we know at 5:59 flag is up and at 10:30 flag is down, or whatever the time the flag comes down? It seems to me it's a very simple one push button, bang, done, flags up, flags down. It's not, I have in many occasions been relying on texting fellow fishermen and JC, where the constable is at the time, to be like, is it flag up? Is it flag up? And having, not the correct information, seeing boats leaving, seeing boats maintained at dock. I think this is a very simple solution to have like, we were talking about one broadcast text message, which is an easy thing, but all the commercial scalpers are on the list already. If you have a commercial scallop license, that push button is available. I'm just curious as to if we can make this a very simple solution as before having to like go through all these different steps of when, how, and where.
Thank you,
I think the easy answer to that, if I may, Mr. Chair, is
please.
yes, I think we can. And I think we can have it in place before it gets cold, unless it all of a sudden cold snaps tomorrow. We're ready, but I think hopefully, I mean, it's the 21st today, 22nd. That hopefully it seems pretty simple in 2026 to get a text message out to anyone that wants it. I would think that could easily be in before the start of the season.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Brace,
Jeff, when you get that set up with Weather Underground, won't that be a station that's on Weather Underground that you would select when you go to the site, right? So it's like, there's one called Mika's Pond, there's the airport, you can select those to see what the weather is there, so you won't have to wait to get a text or whatever. You'll go to the hatchery, right?
Yeah, there'll be one there. I think there are times that people see, right, where. I know this sounds nitpicky, but it does come up where the temperature. Kind of bobs around as it's going up or down.
Oh,
One
that
direction.
drops.
Right, like, as it goes around a little bit. I think just for ease. I do think that having some sort of useful tool where everybody gets the same information and you're not saying. Well, when Bob read it, it was 28.1, and when Jim read it a minute later, it was 27.9. So what is it? No, it's going in the right direction.
yes,
It's going out. I mean, that's an extreme example, but I think. That's all relatively simple.
called a key.
Got it. Thanks, Lee.
Yeah.
Relatively simple to do.
thank you, Jeff.
Yes, in response to that, Mr. Brace, I appreciate that. But there's still only one person, as far as I'm concerned, that has the regulatory provision to make it up or down. So whatever we see as the temperature, there's only one guy that says flags up and flags down.
Yeah, but I'm sorry,
It doesn't matter what I see, it matters what the guy who's raising the flag sees.
It can say 28.1 on the Weather Underground, but if the flag's still up, we're not allowed to go fishing till.
It's not up to
till that
us
flag
as
goes down.
fishermen to make the decision, it's up to the guy who's defining the parameters to make the decision.
well, if I was a scalloper and I looked at. And it was on the edge, and I looked at my phone, it said 28. Every single time I take a screenshot. So I'd be like, well, here it is.
Yeah, but that wouldn't work.
Well, I mean, it's,
I'm not gonna risk a day's catch for
yeah,
confiscation because somebody was a point off. Because
Okay.
I'm not the one making the decision of whether.
I understand, I
All
understand.
right, John. Jeff,
If I may, just to kind of bow on this is. I think we can have a solution for it. right? We've been dealing with the temperature and the red flag for a lot longer than. At least I've been involved with the fishery things that. I think it's a solvable issue and to get information out quicker.
The text push makes perfect sense for a couple of reasons. One is he sends out a text push. Maybe not everybody gets it, but enough of us get it that we tell the other guys. The other thing that happens is, and this happened, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, but it was 28 and we all went and we were catching scallops. And then evidently it dropped and we all got our butts handed to us by JC and I had to dump 3 boxes of scallops back over the side. Now, if the temperature does drop, he can send out a text push telling us we all need to come in.
Yeah.
The same way that he can tell us we can go. So that's always been the argument, I'm sitting there and I got drills out and I'm calling and my phone's in my pocket. If it vibrates, then I'll look at it. And I'll say, oh shit, the temperature's gone down, he wants us to come in, and then we come in. But I don't wanna be out there towing and all of a sudden get pulled up alongside by a warden who's pissed off because we didn't know that the temperature dropped. The temperature dropped.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not looking at the temperature when I'm fishing, I'm hot, I'm hauling dredges and culling, I can't tell what temperature it is. So that would fix 2 things by doing the push.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen very often, very rarely does the temperature go down.
Very rare.
That day it did, but it's not, it just makes sense.
I remember it happening twice in like the last.
Yeah, but
Quickly, Mr. Logan.
Yeah, not to belabor this point, but I think through the chair, I asked, Tara at one point, if a half a degree of temperature really made that much a difference. When we knew it was just hovering on that, wasn't gonna plummet. And I'm sorry not to quote you, but I think you replied, a half a degree temperature wasn't gonna make that much of a difference of what we were doing out there on that particular. I'm sorry to put you on the spot with that, but I think that was a question I asked and you said no. So let's look at the broader picture of, what are we doing out there? What are we trying to accomplish? And what's the real meaning of it?
Thank you, Mr. Logan. Go ahead.
sorry, Ian, this really goes back to later in the season more than anything, because I can remember years when Dave was a shellfish warden, when the flag would finally go down right around 9 o'clock and we'd go and we'd fish. And by 2 o'clock, the temperature was starting to drop again. And Dave would come out and tell us we all needed to go in because it was getting down below 28 again. And there are days when you get a real winter, like we had a couple winters ago, where you only get 4 hours of maybe temperature to be right. So, if guys are out getting out till 10 and they're only getting a couple baskets of tow, they're gonna stay till 4 o'clock to try to get their 5. And those last 2 hours, we may be doing more damage than we are good because we're pulling all that seed up when the temperature's gone down 25, 26 degrees as that sun goes down. So this would help to alleviate that problem.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Franzuto.
Yeah, and that's one of the, Bob just alluded to is why we changed the regulation that the temperature has to be, by 10 o'clock. Because we were losing a lot of days because, it was too cold at 6:30, but it was, or at 6 o'clock, 6:30, but it was plenty warm at 10 o'clock. So that's why we put that in there, is so guys could still go make a day's pay. But if you do this text push and it's too cold, they between talking to one another and getting that, they can come in. I don't think that they keep a boat in the water anymore to go out and round everybody up, but I think the text thing is the way to go.
Thank you, Dave. Dan, can I get you to twist that blind? Yeah, thanks.
You said do it 12 o'clock. Time.
Okay.
I always thought it was 10. Maybe.
Sure.
Have we, any more questions or comments on natural resources report? Okay, not seeing any more public comment. Into old business, commercial bay scallop bushel limit increase to 6 bushel from 5, starting November 3rd, 2025, in anticipation of potential high volume of bay scallops in Nantucket and Mattocket Harbor. This agenda and that description was made prior to having a report from town biologist on her dive surveys. And I believe she has some information for us today to give the professional opinion on what may be out there, what
Yeah,
to
I just-
anticipate.
I just have a few slides that I'm gonna go through. I haven't done an update. I will give a comprehensive update later. This isn't the time of year that we have everything analyzed, but we do have our rough numbers. Just to recap, every fall, usually the first 2 weeks of September, we go out and we do these benthic surveys, and benthic just means what's on the bottom. So we're really looking at eelgrass, shellfish, we're looking at sediment and some water quality too. We have about 40 sites in Nantucket Harbor, and we have around 12 sites between Mattocket Harbor and Tuckernuck Island. And we've been doing the Nantucket site since 2006, and the Mattocket Tuckernuck sites, this is only our second year. Just to go over real quick, for those of you that don't know what we're looking at collecting, we're looking at total percent coverage of eelgrass. We're also looking at the macroalgae, the stuff that sits on top. We're separating that out by species, looking at whether it's branching or filamentous, codium, sheet algae, and boring sponge. We're looking at the blade length of the eelgrass, the fouling scale, what percent of our samples are bare, just like sand. We have sediment characteristics that we record, and we take underwater photos at each site. And above on the boat, we're also looking at cloud cover, wind and sea state. There's a Beaufort scale, water depth, temperature, dissolved oxygen, percent saturation, and salinity is recorded at each site as well. Let's see. Okay, so for Nantucket Harbor, this is just 2006. We had a little break from 2015 to 2018. That's when Peter Boyce left. Mariah Mitchell had been doing the surveys, prior to that, and then the town took over the surveys in 2019. So in 2006, all of Nantucket Harbor, this is all 40 sites averaged together, had 37% total coverage of eelgrass. And this year in 2025, we recorded 17% total coverage of eelgrass. It's up slightly from last year when we had I think we had 14%. So, we're definitely down a lot from 2006. I think, the bright spot here is looking at 2020 to 2025. Mostly we've been kind of hovering in between 14 and 17%, and just looking at those bars, that kind of indicates that there's some stabilization going on hopefully in the harbor, and that we're not having more loss. So ideally we'd like to see those numbers go up, but we're going to have to put some protection measures in place, and continue to make some hard choices with water quality and other initiatives as well. Okay, so for Mattocket Harbor, the percent coverage is a little bit different. I don't have my notes here to see. But anyways, I think everything was kind of around, let's see, just below 25% for the inner Mattocket Harbor. This is like Warren's Landing, Jackson's, and Eel Point area. And then this year went up slightly also to about 19%. And then the outer harbor of Mattocket Harbor, which is kind of like the middle part, and then out near Eel Point as well, but not on the inner part. That was just over 50% last year, and this year it's around 37%. And then Tuckernuck stayed relatively the same between the 2 years, with the highest amount of eelgrass coverage, which I think is around 64%, if I'm remembering correctly. The other thing that we're looking at in our surveys is we're looking at shellfish abundance. So we record bay scallops and conch. Dan, I'm sorry, I don't have the conch results here for you, but maybe next time. So when we go down and we do our surveys, we are diving 50 meters, pulling up everything with 2 parallel lines, and we're looking at seed, nubs, classics, and then conch as well. And so from those 40 sites, we get an average scallop per meter squared. And so that's what we've been looking at, the densities over the years. And so this year, our per meter squared is below 1. It's like hovering just below 1 per meter squared. And again, this is a snapshot of Nantucket Harbor. This isn't, you could move 50 feet over and there's like, a bunch of scallops too. So, but this is what we've been looking at for, since 2006.
Looking at last year as the ban year that we had, we were only at 2 per meter.
It was 2 per meter, but this is spread out over.
Right,
like, the
I'm just
whole-
trying to get
Yeah.
that context of it.
Yeah.
Is that for me to the whole harbor?
This is not for Mattakit and
I
Tuckernuck.
just meant like the whole harbor. is
Yes,
like
it's the whole
average
harbor,
area.
all those 40 sites that I showed you, that's what we see. And so this is what we're looking at this year. We have Nantucket Harbor, just below 1, Mattakit Harbor at 0.5, and Tuckernuck below 0.5. So last year, we talked about increasing the bushel, and we, wrote the reasoning to the select board, and this is what we showed them. We showed them that if the density got at 1.5 or above, that would trigger a bushel discussion in the upward direction. And so this year, since it isn't above the 1, that's why we have not, from NRD, initiated the bushel discussion. So, I think our recommendation would be to go ahead and open, just based on this, because we told the select board that we would be making these recommendations based on data. I would recommend that we start at 5, fish for a week or 2, and then see how everybody feels. I hope that these numbers aren't indicative of what's out there. I hope that there is a lot of adults out there that everybody finds, and everybody, says, it's great, I want to have an increase. I also hope that there's a lot of seed out there. I didn't show you the seed results, but we didn't get a lot of seed in our surveys this year, but our spat bags were the second highest year that we've ever had since 2023. And so I'm interested in knowing if there's seed out there too that we haven't uncovered somehow. But I think this would be our recommendation, and so I just wanted to, show you the information of how we came about that.
Couldn't be any more detailed. Thank you, Tara. That's wonderful information. Comments from the board?
So. I need to look at the calendar.
Scott?
It looks like we're gonna definitely need everybody's reports in here to be able to help make a decision in that 1 to 2 weeks, so. I guess my encouragement is to file those reports as soon as you can on what your catches are, so we have something to work with.
So our meetings in November are the 4th and the 18th.
Well, we have an issue with the 4th being. the
Yeah, special town meeting. So if we were to. I guess that I would suggest. That we put this on our agenda. For the 18th. And put a placeholder in the select board meeting for the 19th. And if. You find, based on that, if these numbers are correct, I don't think we do anything, but if for some reason we find an abundance of scallops somewhere that we. Aren't in the survey areas, then we could put it on our agenda for the 18th, discuss it, and if. The board decides to make a recommendation to selectmen, they could go, we have a placeholder for the 19th with the select board. And that would put it in, if the select board chose to endorse it, then they could put it in place for the Monday of the week of Thanksgiving, which is always a big week for scalps. Does that sound like it makes sense?
Mr. Carlson, please.
I'd be happy to too, in the interim of also kind of summarizing this back to town admin and the select board and saying, we've started discussing this at Chef, like we told you we were going to. And we're going to be reviewing it at the meeting on the 18th. Please schedule a discussion item for the 19th. I mean, I would feel comfortable sending them that tomorrow and saying that.
Yeah, because last year, remember, we had to do an emergency request, and I didn't want to try to avoid that if we
Yeah.
could.
Absolutely, I'd rather be planning ahead, but it's of course difficult to know until you guys get out there by the looks of it, and, I would imagine. A good measurement is how quickly you're back to the dock as well, so. Thank you for that suggestion, Bob, I think, you would most likely have the support of the board on that. We'd like to poll the board. Mr. Sherlin, any,
No comment on that.
okay, all right,
I mean, I'm making the recommendation, I'm not voting on. it.
right, okay, yeah, I understand. Ms. Mayo? Would you just like, follow along with suggestion being made as far as,
Yes,
raising the limit if there seems to be an abundance out there, Mr. Anderson?
I definitely think we need the feedback and
Yeah.
then we can make a decision
Yeah.
based on the information.
Mr. Brace?
I agree with everybody. I just want to voice that we don't want to, if we do 6 and everybody goes out and goes, yeah, because this is the period of time when a lot of scalps are taken. We might take too many, if that's possible. I hear what Bobby said at the last meeting about need 6 boxes to get your 30 pounds if boxes are being leveled. So that's on my mind. So the sooner we get the data from everybody. And Tara, you guys have all the scalpers' emails?
Yeah, I get about 8 kicked back that probably aren't accurate anymore.
So maybe an email goes out to them before the season saying, we need your data and this is why. So please, everybody, let us know, I mean.
Wait,
Yeah, there's another metric that we also pay attention to and measure because, the fishery is changing and we, track how many people are actively going each month, whether you go one day or you go all 20 days for November. And then we take that number, like for November, for example, for the past 6 years, there's been 43 people licenses that have gone at least one day in November. And if you take that number in half, you end up with like, I don't know, 22 and a half or something like that. That's usually how many limits that you're getting in November. It's pretty spot on. So if that participation goes down and this density is still the same, then it's also a different conversation. So just kind of like paying attention to how many people are involved in the fishery and actively going can also change that bushel discussion number too.
Mr. Franzuto, do you have
Yeah, I agree with Bob's date schedule, and I would be real interested in the catch data based on how the weights are coming in. So I think that also plays into the 5 or 6 discussion. But yeah, I think that's a great plan for November.
Thank you, Dave. Anybody else from the board? Want to add to this? Thank you for that wonderful presentation, Tara.
Great report.
Mr. Logan?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Tara, for all that great information and the research you've done. Respectfully disagree with the board's recommendation at this point, being the fact that we don't know what's out there yet, and there's an anticipation of maybe not being enough. However, having said that, as a fisherman, the first 3 weeks of the season are the most important weeks of the season for all of us. We have a market that has an appetite. We have people that want this product. And if we decide in 2 weeks' time that we're not catching the 6 boxes, then we don't have to. Again, it's not a mandate, it's an opportunity. And if we're finding that the number of fishermen that are spending days out there catching their 6 boxes are spending way too much time getting that 6th box, they won't. They'll go back to 5 or to 4. But if they have the means and opportunity to catch, process, and sell, I think at the beginning of the season is when we really need to be selling this product that everybody wants in November.
Thank you.
And if I add one more thing to Tara, if I can, through the chair,
Yes,
your survey, you noted seed, nub, and classic. Is the classic regarded as a 3-year-old, or is that another category? Because there's a lot of that 3-year-old stuff out there that I've seen already this year. And I'm wondering if that's incorporated into your metric.
If it is yes, if it is a legal adult, it's recorded regardless of rings. We do record like the length of the second and third ring if
That's
we
considered
do,
classic.
if we do find one. Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
anybody else from the public? John, I think, we kind of have a consensus with the board here. I appreciate your request and outlook on this. But I'm afraid at this point, we'll be remaining with the consensus taken here prior to your
Yes.
comment.
Mr.
So,
Chairman.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, but I strongly disagree with the board's recommendation. I just want to let it state for the record that I strongly disagree with this. And that's all I can say.
Thank you, Mr. Franzuto.
Yeah, I mean, the biologist has made a recommendation. She's also made a recommendation to us and the selectmen that it's data driven. She's provided the data. We've got a timeline. We can always bump it up on the 18th or 19th, whatever that is. And I think we just gotta play it out, see what's being landed and see what the weights are and make a decision on the 18th.
Thank you, Mr. Franzuto.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna be a pain over here, but it's easier to bring it down than to bring it up.
Well, I think we've made it easier to bring it up.
Yeah.
Mr. Logan, and honestly, I don't think I can ask the remainder of the board once more if they would like to push sooner for the 6 bushel limit. 2 board members are really not able to vote on that. And Mr. Brace, Mr. Anderson, Miss Mayo, any
Yeah,
influence?
I'd make a motion that we remain at 5 bushels until the 18th, and we make a decision.
Second,
Can I
Okay,
make a separate comment?
comment on that, Mr. Sherwin?
The Cape doesn't have any base golf this year. John, how can you do that? So we will not be fighting their market.
Yeah, East Tim
Last year, East Hammond Bay has no stalls.
And what's the point?
We won't be fighting them for price.
No, but people want them in now.
That can be looked at in 2 different ways, probably.
I just
Jim.
wanted to mention that if you're concerned about the money part. Because our price will be
Often-
12 next year, is probably, it was this past year.
Thank you, Mr. Sherlin, I appreciate the comment.
So we have a motion,
well, it's still discussion right now.
yes,
Well, it sounds like Jeff is gonna have the select board on
on call.
on call right
fourth
away
string.
based on the data that they have, so it's as soon as we know something. And we made it last year so that if we needed to change the limit, we could change it right away as opposed to a long process. So I just gotta go with, I hear you, John, but I gotta go with the data, what Tara says. Um,
Oh.
Sorry. Yeah, and I mean. And how much of a percentage of the regional market was the Cape? Is that a big deal, Jim?
Last year they got a fair amount of scalps over there.
They what?
They
Yeah.
got a fair amount of scalps in it.
So take that away and it doesn't sound good on the vineyard, is that,
I have not heard.
you've not heard? I mean,
I can't continue to go back and forth on this, Mr. Logan. Anything else, Mr. Franzuto? Were you just clearing your throat or?
No, I'm ready to vote.
Okay, so the motion's been made by Mr. Anderson, seconded by Mr. Brace, was it?
No,
So-
second by me.
Seconded by Mr.
hold
Franzuto.
on a minute.
Something else?
You other three guys have nothing else to say? You wanna say anything? Now's your chance.
Thank you, Mr. Brace.
Okay,
I can't say, I'm not gonna be stalled until the end of December, so I can't,
okay,
you know. I've always been a fan of. Leave it November 5 bushels. Come December 1st. It goes to 6, but that's just. Me being me, not wanting the gravy scoopers to get an extra box, save it for the guys that go the season. But,
Well, honestly, Mr. Frank, I think the gravy scoopers have
oh, I agree.
kind of weeded themselves
Yeah,
out,
I
and,
agree.
but it's not like it used to be when there were a multiple amount of boats out there, but and you know, I understand, Mr. Logan. I completely understand this direction you'd like to go in and but we've got a consensus here, so I'm gonna move forward with the vote quickly, Mr. Pronk.
My other thought was 6 boxes December 1st. Or I think there's been discussion about it before, if we lose a day during the week because of temperature, after December 1st, we'd get a Saturday, right?
And that's something we can discuss on November 18th, make a note of that. If you would like to see that as an agenda item, I'm not sure if you're requesting that. We can certainly discuss that.
Give us a Saturday, you know,
Mhm.
for guys that wanted to go.
Is that a possibility? Still to be able to fish on Saturdays
State-wise, yes.
to make up for a cold day?
I think it could be. I'd have to double
Yeah.
check.
We put it in our regulations saying that it could be a consideration.
Okay.
It's in the regulation.
On the agenda, that's not, you know, a possibility, so, okay. On the motion. Made by Mr. Anderson, seconded by Mr. Franzuto to, keep a $5, 5 bushel limit. And we will discuss this November 18th with with the notion that there will be a space to, you know, request to be on the agenda for November 19th, just in case with the select board. I get that pretty much right? Correct. All in favor, Mr. Brace,
all right,
Mr. Anderson,
Aye.
Ms. Mayo?
Aye.
Mr. Franzuto?
Aye.
Chair, you make a note that Jimmy and I both abstained from this vote.
And Jim
the record.
and Mr. DeCosta abstain, so it's still a unanimous vote. Thank you. Next item, possible solutions for locating viable areas for intertidal oyster farming in Nantucket harbors and getting that harbor bottom surveyed and qualified by relevant state and town shellfish officials. This has been on here for a while. Mr. Carlson sent me an email updating on what Natural Resources Department is doing. It was good information about requesting DMF to open up the winter oversight at the Haulover area for year-round use. So I'm glad you're here, Mr. Carlson, if you'd like to quickly explain that.
Yeah, so we, we had our growers meeting with everyone earlier this year, and that was a discussion about opening that area up, that all of the growers up there agreed that they wanted to pursue that, so we notified DMF. They're busy, they asked us to kind of revisit it in the fall with them, and we re-engage them, and hopefully they'll have that. They didn't make it seem like a big deal, that determination out, so that would be available year round, but it would still be within the already existing lease areas that are all subtitle areas. For instance,
That's currently the wintering oversight.
correct.
Mr. Carlson, can you clarify, as it seemed to come to light later, several meetings ago, so is it 3 of the growers already have intertidal space to use in Pacoma?
There are 2 growers that have leases within the Pocketville area. And through permitting and relay permitting and things, if other growers can talk the guys to hold stuff in there and they have permits to do it, they certainly can, but there are only 2 leases in that area.
Okay,
And those are the only 2 intertidal.
Correct.
So there's no other. So the 2 guys that have those leases, if they don't want to let the other guys in there, they don't have to.
Nope.
And they won't.
okay, and Mr. Carlson, the reason, we've kept this on here, I think, majority of the board saw this as, leveling the playing field to be able to get more intertidal space available. It seems as though, Wellfleet farming is all intertidal. Being in the deep water area sounds like it's, and I'm not familiar with it, so I stand to be corrected if necessary. That the deep water area is more labor intensive and also more gear necessary. But, I guess if, you're working forward with this and possibly getting through with it in that winter oversight, it sounds like a win-win and hopefully, just keep us posted on that. We're gonna remove this from the agenda and wait to hear from you.
Yeah, I mean, if other sites become available, I know we've talked to some of the other possible sites and they weren't interested on aquaculture on their properties for whatever reason, so if sites come up or come available or that are there, certainly we'll keep everyone posted, but kind of what we got.
Thank you, Jeff. Mr.
I just
Sherlin,
want to ask a question to the NRD. As far as the lease sites, I just want to ask if they can be very well marked on the corners.
They're supposed to be, but we'll make sure
Supposed to
they're
be.
all.
There was
very
some
clear there.
confusion last, well, I mean, it's probably ice or something, maybe took buoy out, but there was no, on the wintering oversight, there was no markers on the corners last year.
It's all dredges in there, or close to it.
And then there was some issues with one of the growers that somebody towed through it.
just a minute, Mr. Pronk, did you have something you wanted to add, Mr. Franzuto?
No, I just wanted to make sure, like we had talked about earlier, that it's a level playing field for all of them. And we'll just play it out as the DMF can decide on what they want us to do.
Thank you, Dave.
I just didn't want anybody to be excluded, that's all.
Thank you. Any more discussion from the board? Mr. Pronk, you'd like to add something to this?
I spend a lot of time up that in the town, as well as the oyster farmers do. I don't understand why that wintering over place is good for the winter, but the one guy that wants to use it during the summer months and was using it during the summer months and was told to leave because he was out of protocol, or whatever it was. Like you said, let's level the playing field. There's 2 guys that are doing real well with the stuff over at Bacamo, because basically from what I can see, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, the deep water stuff is where they grow. When you put them in the intertidal zone, the intertidal washing is what helps them grow, it cleans them up. If you don't have that intertidal zone, you have to do that by hand. I mean, I know Matt breaks his back cleaning his oysters as well as Fitzy does, whereas the guys that have the stuff on the title zone, that stuff gets washed basically on its own and it grows cleaner and quicker. Those guys are the two biggest producing oyster guys on the island, whereas the two deep water guys do fine, but if they could get a title zone like the other guys do, it would certainly level the playing field and
Well, that's what we're
maybe
trying to do.
title zone, but I know one guy does,
Mm.
and it would help his business, I think immensely, and it would level the playing field. Like I said, I don't know why they can go to that spot by Cascada in the winter, but not in the summer. I don't know I don't know anything about that, but it
That's what we're trying to do.
for the other guys.
Jeff,
So for clarity, we're trying to get that area.
Hello. F-150 next to the charging station, can I move it? I need to charge my car.
If what?
F-150,
Does somebody have an electric F-150
no,
here?
it's not electric, but it's just.
Oh.
Gas station down the road.
What color is it?
Right, sewer,
Yeah, is that yours?
it's the town, yeah, it's an official.
Yeah, we'll be right there.
Like Jeff said, that's what we're trying to do with petitioning the DMF.
well, and that's what it sounds like Mr. Carlson's working on doing, so, and,
Does he pay to plug into the town's, the charging station?
No, the parking lot was full when our non-electric vehicle got back. I bet you someone just dropped it there and blocked the charging station. It's not plugged in.
So that's later.
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
Mr. Carlson, just to clarify, this is something you're actively working on over the winter so that everybody knows and.
Yeah, I sent some information to the DMF even today to try to see if I can have an answer before tonight's meeting, but
Well,
I didn't
okay,
hear back. So,
All right.
yes, I would, trust me, I would love nothing more than to have this off of my plate sooner than later. Because
Thank you,
it needs to
Jeff.
get resolved.
Thank you, Jeff.
Everyone's in agreement on it, so.
All right. Wonderful. Any more discussion on this? Okay, gonna move forward to new business. Bay scallop dredge weight and enforcement concerns heading into the 2025-26 commercial bay scallop season. This was brought up by a fisherman at the September 11th select board meeting. And so it raised some concerns for me. But as everybody has now since then received an email about the 35-pound dredge weight limit, which has been there since 2014. And some of the concerns were with the new style dredge being used by some, and we call that chain sweep, or also Chatham dredge.
Pressure plate dredge.
And pressure plate dredge as well. Okay, so I've gotten some feedback already from several fishermen that have been able to pare down the weight on their dredges to meet the requirements. So it seems like the email has worked, and hopefully there really aren't too many issues to discuss here. But anybody on the board?
Mr. Chairman?
All right, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I think the form is the way to go. I also think that weighing these things ahead of time is definitely a step in the right direction. And I just want to reiterate, I don't want to see the dredges go over 35 pounds. And I think this is the right way to do this. We've approached it in the right way. And Tara's emails and collecting the data, that's the way to do that. I think this is a step in the right direction.
Thank you, Dave. Mr. Sherlin.
I was just gonna make the comment that, a little surprised some people didn't know the regulation for the weight. After 11 years now. Previously it was 40 pounds.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's just important that if there's any regulation changes, everybody in the fishery gets a paper copy of the new regulations. If that, maybe that happened, I don't know, but. So I think we just revised them. I think every fisherman who has a license should get paper copy.
At least of of the scallop. part.
Yeah, at least for the scallop, yeah, scallop, pressure scallop.
I'm sorry to check, Shannon, I'm sorry, can we wait for Tara to come back here for her to have some information that's being spoken about here now, because it's part of her program here also?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to
no,
disrupt the
I-
meeting, but I think that as a member, she should be here with this discussion happening. I'm sorry to disrupt.
I agree. Meantime, if Mr. Carlson, can
You speak
cover
over
for her.
Yeah, I definitely.
Great, thank you.
I'm gonna make a comment that Willie Tara doesn't have to hear, and it's just about the weighing of the dredges that. I think there needs to be some consistency in how they're being weighed. So they should be weighed dry.
Yeah.
Not, it would behoove everyone to weigh their dredges ahead of time, and if they're close. If I had a dredge that was close, I would go find JC before the season started and have him weigh it with me to make sure that it was a legal dredge, because. We all know that once you throw one in the water and you add a bunch of mung and grass to it, it's gonna gain 2 or 3 pounds in weight. That's just inevitable. The difference from years was, we were 40 pounds, we went to 35 pounds, nobody cared about the 35 pounds, because with the old style dredge. Guys would throw a sash weight on it and pull the sash weight off or whatever. You don't throw sash weights on a pressure plate dredge. You build the dredge and that's the dredge. You don't change it. You maybe change, the only way I guess you could change the weight would be to change the size of the chain suite. Because once you put the rings on it, and once the dredge frame is built and the net bags on it, the only thing
It's
that
just-
you change to change the weight of that dredge is the size of the chain you use for the suite. So, you weigh your dredge ahead of time, you get the constable to sign off on it and you're good to go. But if you don't bother to take the 5 minutes to find JC to weigh your dredge, and then he weighs it after the fact, and your dredge is 35 and a half or 36 pounds. We're gonna have issues, and that's, I would just, if it was me, I'd resolve it before the season started.
That's why it has to be done before, right? It has to be done before.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Bob. Mr. Carlson, is JC available? I mean,
Absolutely.
these emails have gone out and I'm not sure how it's
Shining
doing.
his scale, so he's ready to go.
Okay.
All right.
Anybody else from the board on this?
Yeah, I mean,
Peter?
this could be a potential, in the future amendments to the shellfish regulations. That you require it. You require that everyone must get their dredges weighed dry before the season. So JC knows, so he has his baseline data on everybody's dredges. So that if something happens during the season where changes are made, he's gonna, so at least everyone starts, with
Fresh.
meeting it and then it's not a surprise. And that way you get, I think, being a non-scalper, but I think that you get the word out there. It becomes a requirement, a thing that you do, in addition to getting your boat ready.
Maybe to make it a little simpler for the constable, that there could be some type of a brand mark put on dredges that have been weighed the year before, whether it's a little notch with a grinder or just so that every dredge doesn't have to be weighed again and again. Mr. Sherwin mentioned to me earlier and sent me a picture of his dredges that he's just made up, and they're smaller dredges than everybody else, it seems, but only weigh 26.5 pounds. And to have to, have those weighed again every year, unless that's something that the constable actually wants to do, Mr. Carlson.
I mean, I was just gonna say is I'm not opposed to any of those things, but I also, and if you wanna call me naive, believe it, but most people follow the rules and do those things, right? I don't think it's a huge necessary step to ask folks to take accessory steps if they do what Mr. DaCosta suggested, and like, if Jim weighed his dredges and they weigh 28 pounds, he's got nothing to worry about. If JC has to weigh a dredge, okay, here, weigh it, it's totally fine, right? If you
Exactly.
are going in with a dredge that's, 34.99, and you don't have them go through it in advance, you're rolling the dice, but I think at the end of the day, right, we're not gonna go out and measure everyone's bushel box for volume either, right? Like, we know what a bushel box looks like, is everyone is capable of doing what they're supposed to do. And you can check those things for sure, but it's also, I wouldn't want to leave the house knowing that I was potentially using something that wasn't compliant and roll the dice that way. And I think personal responsibility goes a long way to make everyone's life easier instead of like tracking folks down or setting things up like, let's just get ready to fish and go fish and follow the rules. Pretty
That-
straightforward.
That's exactly right. And number one, and number two, like Bob said, the dates of rubber band and a couple of sash weights on the dredge, those days are over. So, we've come up with some good regulations, some good rules, a good checklist. Dry 'em, weigh them before they fish with them while they're dry, and let's go fishing.
Mr. Carlson, and from the feedback that I got, well, I'll back up a bit. Both you and Tara were obviously at the September 11th meeting. And when that one fisherman brought up his concerns, kind of had me worried. And it sounds like he was gonna have a hard time in getting his dredges below 35. Actually spoke with him today. He said he's worked on it, and the other feedback that I've gotten was all positive feedback from the fishermen, saying they've been able to pare down the weight on their dredges, and no negative feedback whatsoever from the fishermen that have been in touch with me about this. So I guess, in the end, it's a good thing. Actually, several of them also mentioned how they understand that it's better for the environment to have a lighter dredge, and they're all about it. So at least that type of information over the years has resonated itself into the fishermen to be concerned about the environment as well. So I guess all in all, this is a good thing.
Right.
So, Jeff.
I mean, the only piece of information that we're asking for this year's, which is trying to get a grasp of how many of. They're not really a new style dredge, but new to here, new style dredge is being used compared to the traditional dredge. Cause as we're going out and trying to assess impacts to the bottom, it's nice to know. What's out there,
Mhm.
and then I think we generally assume that. The dredges are following the rules, we're just trying to figure out, are there 100 Chatham style dredges to 20 traditional dredges? Or is it, 50-50 or whatever that is, just so we can kind of gauge, and then as we try to evaluate what's going on in the harbor, we know what's impacting them.
What can the fishermen expect from the constable when it comes to the Chatham dredge and not being maybe, I don't know if it's completely approved across his board in use, or.
So, well, we've gone through, I think, we've reviewed, and I know we've talked to Jim and a number of times about it. I think we have a pretty good handle on the configuration, and I don't want to misspeak or be held to the exact numbers, but I think what we're seeing in general, and Jim, please correct me when I say this wrong, is we kind of have a width. We know that they're not a rectangle like traditional dredges. When you get into the chain in the back, that's kind of angled. We know what that shape and configuration are, and I think we're also kind of evaluating how that behaves for what we're seeing as it relates to eelgrass and things. And we were willing last year to let them go out and fish, and it didn't seem to be problematic. I think this year we're kind of in the same spot where we understand. I mean, I think if someone rolled out a dredge that was all of a sudden like, 30 deep in the middle and 50 deep on the outside, it might be like, hold on a second. But you'd be way overweight with that anyway. So we're trying to keep it in the same general range as that traditional dredge, understanding that instead of being a rectangle, it's more of that like chevron shape. And seeing what goes on, and we're trying to do some work to see how it behaves with sand and eelgrass and kind of track after that. I think at the end of the day, our hopes are to all collectively work together to say, hey, maybe this is the dredge that people should be fishing towards because it's better for the health of the harbor. Or hey, it looks like it's a problem. We need to talk about maybe how it gets regulated differently. But I think we're still in that information gathering to know exactly what's best, but it seems to be tracking towards. It's a new way to fish that seems to be working.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. I'd just like to say. We'll be removing this from the agenda most likely until, and you have any new information that needs to be discussed, we'll wait to hear from you or Tara on that.
And I think too, and please hop in, if people that are using them are seeing things. By all means, please feel free to share, like, hey, I fished for 2 weeks. And I haven't seen any grass come up in my dredge, or whatever information that's there is super handy for us to know, right? We're not fishing every day. If people's experience with them is showing that you're not getting, sediment or grass or whatever's coming up in your dredge. Take pictures, send them to us, we would love to know for how they're behaving. That's helpful.
Great,
I just want to make a general comment on this is that, I started using these dredges in 2018, so it's been, how many years is that now, 8 years? And I do feel like they get less eelgrass, especially roots.
Yeah.
When you're towing in spotty bottom, I feel like they tear up less bottom than the traditional dredge, especially if they're heavy. It's just my one comment that these aren't just new from last year. They've been around for a little while. So
thanks, Jim. Anybody else from the board comments on this? Mr. Prompt?
Like Jim, I've been fishing those, I was one of the first guys to fish the Chatham dredges here. And I tow 4. Most guys that tow the Chatham style dredges don't tow 8 of them. I tow 4 of them. I know a couple other guys that tow 6. I have 28s. That before I started fishing them, I called up JC and I said, JC, come over to my house. I want you to look at these dredges because people are gonna see me with these things and they're gonna say, what's he doing? And I want to get your approval on them before I throw them in the water. And he came over and 3 of the 4 were fine. They had 33 pounds. And that's another thing. Who the hell wants to throw around a 40-pound dredge? Those ones I have are monsters. They fish unbelievably clean. Like the bar dredges, you get a bag of cement sometimes. If you get into the sand, you got a bag of cement that you can't get at a bar. I have never had a problem getting sanded up. There's very little eelgrass in them. I think because the chain itself articulates to the bottom. It's not like a bar dredge where it just plows through, and I think that's why we don't get the big sandbags in them. I personally think they're way better for the bottom than a bar dredge, but that's just. But one of the dredges I had was over width, and JC literally said it was 3/4 of an inch too wide. He said, you gotta cut it now. That's fine. I brought it out to O'Banion's guys and they chopped it down and put it back together. And so I agree, I did it years ago because I knew somebody was gonna say something about me towing the things and he came by and he basically gave me a stand of approval ones. If you want to come weigh him again, you can come weigh him again. But that's my 2 bits. I think they're way better than the bar, just because of what you see in the bags. I mean, these guys will attest, everybody will attest. You get into the sand and you get some grass in your bag, you get into the sand, God help you. Not only getting it in the boat, but also getting that big blob of cement apart, whereas I don't know, I like them.
Thanks, thank you, Dan.
I'm having 4 made right now. Jimmy's making 4 for me from some of my old dredge frames, and for that exact reason that he's talking about. The fact that we just saw the survey that we've only got like 17% of the bottom is eelgrass now. And the traditional dredges, which I've been fishing for over 40 years, when you get in that broken bottom and that bar cuts into that sand, and you have just enough eelgrass in that dredge, it turns into a plow anchor. And when we pull it back, and I make very short tows, and I watch guys that make way too long of tows with those dredges and they come up like bags of concrete. Even with short tows, I come up with grass, with roots of grass in those dredges with no weights on them, and dredges that weigh 20 pounds. But when that bar cuts in and it fills with sand, it becomes a 60-pound dredge, not a 20-pound dredge. And if you don't stop right away and dump that thing, you're gonna do more damage than good. So I'm looking forward to trying these dredges. I've never fished with them, but I think time wise and back wise, it's gonna be a lot better on me. And for the harbor as well, to catch the scallops and not not rip the grass out, so.
Tara, please.
We also have 4 of the new dredges for the town to try out, and it was our hopes to have it's called a paired dredge study done side by side. But we ran out of time this fall, and also with our experimental design, we wanted to incorporate you guys in it, or have some people, use your boats with the dredges, and just so we could replicate the information.
You gotta go faster,
Yeah,
definitely go faster than traditional. dredge.
I don't envision there being too much of a difference. If it's better, great. With the eelgrass management plan, though, it's, we're looking at protection in different ways. But I think there's a way to be like pro fishing and pro conservation at the same time, and just like figure it out.
Thank you, Tara. Dave, anything?
No, sir.
Okay,
Great.
anybody else from the board, Peter?
Does any of you guys have anything to say?
Okay,
We don't always get scalpers here, so when you,
Yeah,
when
well,
you.
I'm a traditional dredge guy. I've heard from, if I can, Mr. Chairman,
please do, John.
make a comment. I've heard comment from, some guys are going half and half. They're still not convinced. It might be that they're towing half and half and you can't do that. Like Dan said, you have to tow faster. I'm not quite sure. I don't have any of these new style dredges. But I'd be happy to convert over if we're finding that it's going to be saving the health of the harbor and mitigating some loss of eelgrass in the process of it. So with further studies, and I hope with some further communication back from the fishermen that are towing these new style dredges, that they're like, oh yeah, they're better, they're more efficient, it's less wrath. We can go forward and maybe, I hate to say it, but encouraging some of the more traditionalists like me to go and convert. I'd be happy to do that. Wouldn't want it to be a mandate, but if it's a conversion recommendation, then it's something to consider, so.
Use mine in November.
Okay, great, thanks, but it's a big thing that we're trying to establish here between the fishermen, the NRD, the biologist, and everybody who's involved here to find out, what are we doing here? Are we sustaining the environment and the fishery? Or are we just like plowing along like we used to do for years and years? And that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Honestly, from how Dan explained it and Bob reiterated that, with the bottom the way it is, with the decreased amount of eelgrass to keep from pulling up the sand, which you're gonna be going through some sand patches here and there, and if you're ending up with, as described, a cement bag, and this eliminates that. It sounds like it makes sense. I know I pushed right 2 years ago in Warren's Landing area off of Little Neck, and it was all sand, no eelgrass. And I was amazed to look down and see how the scallops have adapted to live in, they'll just make a little hollow in the sand and hang out there instead of being in eelgrass. And there must have been 25, 30 other people out there push raking, and there were a lot of scallops there. So now you kind of, I believe, have to adapt to fishing for scallops and sand. And it sounds like the newer dredge is alleviating some issues with that. Dan, quickly.
Chatham's bottom's primarily sand, hence the reason the Chatham dredges.
Gotcha.
They never really had big eelgrass beds like we did. Those guys have lead roller sweep dredges up there, some of the guys do, instead of a chain sweep, but.
All right. Anything more on the dredges? If not, any more public questions or comments?
I have one item, Andy.
Please, Bob.
I brought this up last meeting, I just wanna bring it up again. Is the horse shed and Monomoy open to clamming yet?
Yes.
It is, yeah, okay. Is that, several members of the public have asked me if they can go in the horse shed, so, yep, just wanna let them.
Anything, anybody'd like to see at our next meeting?
May I ask a question on that?
Jan.
Sorry.
No, Jan, go ahead.
Is that closure still going to hold?
Every summer.
Every summer now, is that federal?
That's a federal closure.
soon as 20 boats moorings go in.
Because the water flow deeper.
Because,
Sorry.
because the federal government and Airframe Wizard decided that there's 20 boats tied up on moorings, and they must be dumping sewage, so you can't clam in that area. That's basically the short answer.
The Miss China's gone, we're gonna have that problem anymore.
Even though we proved to them that it wasn't a problem.
All the field grass in the bush shed. Why aren't they installed?
The islands. Why aren't there any scallops in Tucker? Not either, that's the best.
Yeah, all that, that's a farm.
There's
Easy got all those. This is nature.
Tara,
I don't know the answer, but I know that there's some weird stuff going on in Horseshed in that eelgrass where like if you go down and you touch the roots of the eelgrass, they like disintegrate in your hand. It's really weird. I feel like the shape of Co2 coming around too is causing like a lack of flow in there as well, a little bit.
Because of the beach filled up.
Yeah,
0.1A.
it's an interesting spot. So it looks like there's plenty of eelgrass, but it doesn't, there's something weird going on.
Would, the state ever allow that to be dredged, to have that sand removed from there? Or is that something you wouldn't do?
That's for Jeff.
I think the short answer to that is, I think getting permits from the state for that would be very difficult to do. I think you would really need to bring some real science to bear for why that would need to happen, because it's not in their normal window. Never hurts to ask sometimes if we think it's there, but.
Quickly, Mr. Logan.
Just, on this topic and not to like bring up a whole other conversation, but would it be somewhat prudent to perhaps try through the NRD, gather a dozen scallopers and just rake that area out? Let's all just like dredge all that crap out of there, make a couple of tows, push it out to the channel, let it go away and then see what happens. Probably not a conversation for tonight, but
It'll just come back, John. And
I don't know.
It also-
I'm not a biologist.
it also takes, regular letters from this board and from Sheila to the ferry companies telling them to slow the F down. Getting them throttle down before they get to the cut. And don't throttle up until they go past the cut.
Yeah.
Cause they go,
I will say this, cause I'm on that, up and down that channel probably more than anybody in this room. Both high speed, all the high speed ferries throttle down at the no wake boom.
they do
They do. They throttle down at the cut. So,
in the wintertime,
I don't know about the winter, but all summer they do.
right, because the harbor is so full. But in the wintertime is the time that.
But those,
Yeah.
but I will, and again, when they throttle down, they throw a bigger wave into the horse shed than they do when they're going through their full speed.
Yep.
Because the bulbous coming off the back of those things is like, I fished in the horse shed a few years ago and almost got thrown out of my boat by one of the high speeds going by slow because of the wave they throw off. So I don't know if it's necessarily that. It could be a combination of a lot of things. The water flow has changed over there, because when I drift through there trying to catch bonita and you get on the other side of that buoy, there's no flow there. You've got a lot more boats coming in and out of the channel. Why isn't, I don't wanna belabor this, but there's a lot of things that are going on in that part of the harbor. And I don't think you can point a finger to any one thing. The high-speed ferries probably have something to do with it. But it's not just that, it's a lot of other things involved with it.
Okay, anything for our next meeting?
Will we have a meeting on the fourth?
Well, that's just it as well.
Want to go right to the 18th?
We can't meet during the special town meeting. It just, I
Unless we
imagine,
had like a 3 o'clock meeting.
right.
Thanks for all your
And
Thank you
thanks for
coming,
being here, Jan. Mr. Brace. We did speak about this at the last meeting.
Yeah, I haven't gotten a hold of Erica yet, but I'll do that tomorrow.
Okay, so what we were looking
Mr.
for
Chairman?
is possible 3 PM on the fourth.
If we're not, we were originally talking about doing that because we were thinking we might want to get on the selectmen's agenda for the 5th. We're not gonna do that now. We're gonna go to the 18th. Or the 18th and the 19th, so I don't know if we necessarily have to have a meeting.
Okay,
I mean, that's the first week of scalloping. Everybody's gonna try to get their scallops opening and try to go to special town meeting. So I would suggest that maybe we just skip that meeting and go right to the 18th.
Mhm.
That would be my suggestion. I'll make that a motion if you'd like.
Yes, please
I'll
do.
make a motion to have our next meeting, our first meeting in November on the 18th.
I'll second that.
Motion's made by Bob DeCosta, seconded by Scott Anderson to have one meeting in November, being November 18th. Any discussion on that from the rest of the board? All in favor, Mr. Brace,
Aye.
Mr. Sherlin?
Aye.
Mr.
Aye.
DeCosta, Mr. Anderson, Ms. Mayo,
Aye.
Mr. Franzuto.
I,
Okay, chair votes aye as well. So our next meeting is November 18th. Anything else you can think of you'd like to have on the agenda for the 18th? Anybody? I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made by Mr. Brace to adjourn tonight's meeting, seconded by Mr. Anderson. All in favor, Mr. Franzuto,
I.
Mr. Brace,
Aye.
Mr. Sherlin, Mr. DeCosta, Mr. Anderson,
Aye.
Ms. Mayo.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. This meeting is adjourned 6:33. Thank you, Tara. Thank you, Jeff, for being here. We've got a lot